Your top stories this evening, sponsored by Courts, bringing value home. JAGDEO now says that opposition parties no match for the PPPC, claims only the PPPC has competency and skills. Norton fires back, says PPPC government is dictatorial, willing to condone crimes, and urges JAGDEO to wake up from his slumber. AFC cites broken accord, failed negotiation that ended APNU coalition talks, and MOHAMED'S win party sparks controversy over the use of Jaguar symbol. HGP Nightly News begins now. Good evening to our viewers here in Guyana and online. I'm Travis Chase with the Friday, June 20th edition of the HGP Nightly News. Here's what you need to know this evening. The People's Progressive Party Civic's General Secretary is now claiming that the opposition political parties are no match for the People's Progressive Party Civic. He claims that the electorate will put the PPPC back into office. Here is more. After stating months ago that his party, the People's Progressive Party Civic, will not be complacent in its approach to the 2025 general and regional elections, General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, JAGDEO, stated on Thursday that all of the opposition parties are no match for the PPPC. The tough-talking General Secretary urged voters, though, to carefully examine the political candidates contesting the elections.
So, you just contrast that and think about entrusting the future of Guyana at this time in the hands of that group versus Irfan Ali, Mark Phillips ticket supported by a party that has kept its promise to the people, always kept.
The General Secretary claims that no other political party has the skill and competency as the People's Progressive Party Civic.
From no skill or competency, they're not trustworthy because they plan not to implement anything, and they're not this feeble attempt to come up with a program that they would call manifesto has been really that. Not.
Mr. JAGDEO believes that the Guyanese electorate will give the PPP another chance after the ballots are counted.
We can't do that because we know we're winning the elections and we know we'd have to fulfill the promises. So we study things carefully before we do it.
Asks then whether his party's presidential candidate Irfan Ali should enter presidential debate with other candidates, the General Secretary responded.
So I'm not worried about his performance. But if I were, as I said the last time, I were to advise him whether to participate or not, I would say no.
The 2025 general and regional elections are due on September 1. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News. Meanwhile, leader of the People's National Congress Reform, Norton, is urging citizens to be mindful of the dictatorial posture of the People's Progressive Party Civic government as they head to the polls come September 1.
Norton, leader of the People's National Congress Reform, PNCR, has this message for General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party Civic, JAGDEO, who earlier alluded that the combined opposition political parties, including the PNCR, is incompetent and inexperienced.
I wonder where he got you from when he came from Jamaica on a bicycle. Everybody that became president, be it Barnum, Jagan, he himself, Granger, had no previous experience in running a government.
Mr. Norton noted that while there are persons who are novices to politics, despite JAGDEO's intellect, his track record in leadership has been dismal.
Well, his experience didn't serve him well because he has no successful project. He failed and wasted money on Skeldon Sugar Factory. He failed and wasted money on the fiber optic cable. He failed and he wasted money on virtually every project that he touched. We had the indignity of a Secretary of State describing our roads as concussion roads.
The Partnership for National Unity's presidential candidate expressed that experience is only applicable and useful once it is beneficial to the development of Guyanese. In this context, Mr. Norton said, citizens can attest to the highest level of incompetence under this regime. He further outlined other instances where the ruling People's Progressive Party Civic has demonstrated incompetence.
You're dealing with a regime that is dictatorial and that they are willing to condone crimes if in their mind the person committing the crime is a friend and ally.
To this end, Mr. Norton made it clear that the People's Progressive Party Civic needs to come to a state of awakening and stop acting as though Guyanese are pleased with their performance as a governing party.
This man has no right to talk about competence. He is incompetent. He addresses no issue thoroughly, but sets out to attack people.
Antonio Day reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
We tell you now that the Alliance for Change has formally ended coalition talks with their Partnership for National Unity. Party leader Nigel Hughes Friday said discussions have run its course and his party is now fully focused on contesting the upcoming elections independently. Find out more from Tiana Cole.
Alliance for Change AFC leader Nigel Hughes said on Friday during a press conference that the prospect of anything positive resulting from further engagement with the Partnership for National Unity, APNU, is slim.
We have moved on and we are heading straight to the election.
Hughes recalled that in 2019, under the leadership of Comrade Ramjatan, the AFC and APNU, then led by former President David Granger, entered into an agreement that was intended to last 3 years. That agreement officially expired in 2022.
Prior to its expiration, the National Executive Committee of the Alliance for Change passed a resolution, passed a resolution not to renew that accord, long before I even re-entered politics.
He said after assuming the party's leadership last year, he extended invitations to now defectors Shara Duncan and Director Finance to join both the Management Committee and the National Executive Committee.
When we entered into the discussions after we'd signed the MOU with the APNU, both sides identified negotiators to represent them.
Hughes further noted that 2 of AFC's founding members, the only 2 surviving founders, participated in the negotiation process, along with Austin Strout from Jamaica.
The position of that party was that their Congress had identified a specific candidate to be the presidential candidate. The Alliance for Change never had such a position.
Tiana Cole reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
You're watching the HGP Nightly News. There is more news ahead. Stay with us. Welcome back to the HGP Nightly News, our developing story. It took only hours after Azruddin Mohammed unveiled his new political party for criticisms to pour in. At the center of the dispute is the Jaguar symbol of Guyanese strength and pride, which one government official says belong to the people, not any political party. Here's more from Tiana Cole.
Hours after presidential hopeful Azruddin Mohammed revealed his party's name and symbol, controversy erupted. The party is called We Invest in Nationhood, acronym WIN, and is branded in blue, black and white. Its symbol is Jaguar, Guyana's national animal. Shortly after the unveiling, Foreign Secretary and Chairman of the National Protected Areas Commission, Robert Persad, publicly objected to the use of the jaguar as a political emblem. In a Facebook post, Persad emphasized that the national symbols belong to all Guyanese. He wrote, quote-unquote, "They reflect our shared history, culture, and pride. Using them for political purposes undermines their meaning and divides the very people they're meant to unite." Prasad added that the jaguar is more than just a powerful creature. It represents the resilience and deeply rooted in this land. Quote unquote, for generations, the jaguar has stood as a symbol of national strength and unity. Turning it into a party logo strips it of that shared meaning and attempts to make it something small, partisan, and exclusive, he added. He further stated the national symbols in Guyana are not mere decorations. They carry weight and significance. They tell stories. They deserve care. Instead of turning the jaguar into a hollow political brand, let's honor our symbols by keeping them where they belong with all the people of Guyana. However, this isn't the first time a political party has used the jaguar as a symbol. Over 2 decades ago, the Rise, Organize and Roar party adopted a rampant jaguar inside the map of Guyana for its logo during the national elections. In 2020, the Citizenship Initiative also used a national symbol, the Victoria Lily, Guyana's national flower, as its party emblem. On May 27, Azadeen Mohamed had officially declared his candidacy for the upcoming regional and general elections, a move expected to shake up the local political landscape and draw sharp scrutiny from the incumbent PPPC administration. Tiana Cole reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Meanwhile, the Guyana Elections Commission said it acknowledges concerns raised regarding the recent amendment to the form governing the nomination process for political parties contesting the upcoming general and regional elections. The elections body, in a statement, said on Friday it recognizes the timing of the amendment and understands the challenges that procedural changes may present to contesting political parties. It was conveyed to representatives of the concerned party during Thursday's engagement that the amendment was introduced as part of GCOM's commitment to upholding the integrity of the electoral process. GCOM said the measure was agreed upon with no objection as a necessary step to mitigate risks of abuse and to strengthen the credibility of the nomination process. On the police blotter, the police seem to have new evidence in the Paper Shorts murder investigation. The police have reopened the case. Here's more. There is confirmation that a fresh investigation has been launched by local crime sleuths into the March 21, 2021 gunning down of Ricardo Fagundes called Paper Shorts. Soon after the case was reopened, police called in social media commentator Michael Rodriguez, better known as the Guyanese critic, and convicted drug trafficker Shahid Roger Khan for questioning. Fagundes was a close friend of Khan, while Michael Rodriguez had been very vocal and insinuating scenarios about the killing of Fagundes. Now, presidential hopeful Azadeen Mohamed is of the view that the purpose of this fresh investigation is to target him and prevent him from running for the presidency. In a statement on his official Facebook page, Mr. Mohamed wrote, quote, "I have never been named a person of interest or a suspect in any murder investigation. In September 2022, the Regional Security System report clearly stated that there was no evidence of corruption or a cover-up in the investigation into the murder of Ricardo Fagundes. The Guyana Police Force also publicly confirmed that I was never a suspect." Mohamed says he is also willing to cooperate with any fair and credible investigation into any allegation made against him. On Thursday, Guyana's Vice President and General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party Civic Bar JAGDEO was asked about this fresh investigation.
I don't know. I don't follow up with the police investigation, but I hope we find out the truth. The president spoke of this some time ago.
In 2021, police had listed Rondell Bacchus, called Killer, as wanted in connection with the gunning down of Fagundes. Bacchus later turned himself into the police and was later freed. He spoke with Nightly News after his release and denied being involved in the execution-style killing of Fagundes.
From then to now, since this incident happened, me really catch myself properly, you know. I can't really figure out why the police would try for mix me up in something that I don't have no knowledge about. I tell you then that I don't have no knowledge. I'm telling you now that I don't have no knowledge. Travis, if I kill a man, I kill a man.
Fagundes was riddled with bullets by two men on Main Street in March of 2021. At the time of the attack, Fagundes was approaching a parked vehicle owned by Roger Khan. Khan had publicly stated that he believed he was the intended target. To date, no one has been charged with the crime. President Afrin Ali did mention some time ago that an important piece of evidence was sent to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News. You're watching the HGP Nightly News. Stay with us. There is more news ahead. Welcome back to the HGP Nightly News. You need to know that Acting Chief Justice Roxanne George, in a landmark decision on Friday, ruled that the charge of criminal libel in the case brought against Guyanese human rights and political activist Rickford Burke versus Attorney General and others is unconstitutional. The Acting Chief Justice, in dismissing the charge filed by the police against Burke, also ruled that the purported service of the summons on Mr. Burke was unlawful and void. The judgment said that there is no legal authority in any statute for the Guyana Police Force or any officer to serve a magistrate-issued defendant's summons on any individual residing outside Guyana's territorial jurisdiction. The Chief Justice unequivocally upheld that the local courts and police cannot overstep jurisdictional limits. She said the laws of Guyana safeguards democratic freedoms and the rights of citizens and residents both at home and abroad. On the charge of defamatory libel, Justice George concluded that Section 113 of the Criminal Offences Act, Chapter 801, is unconstitutional as being in violation of Article 146, which guarantees freedom of expression. Antonio Day tells us now that should the Partnership for National Unity be elected into office come September 1, Leader of the Opposition Aubrey Norton said his government will develop a national youth empowerment scheme. Yes, which will include the empowerment of the nation's talented athletes.
Aubrey Norton, presidential candidate for a Partnership for National Unity, criticized the ruling People's Progressive Party Civic for neglecting the country's young athletes and promises a different approach once elected to office on September 1st, 2025.
The APNU will establish a national youth leadership training program and the development of national youth training centers in all regions of Guyana. The National Youth Empowerment Scheme is aimed at empowering the youth of Guyana. We will empower our national athletes.
In addition, Mr. Norton divulged that the National Youth Empowerment Scheme will encompass the development of a medical insurance scheme for all national athletes regardless of their sport.
We intend to bring to an end the existing situation where through injury, many of our athletes are forced out of athletics.
Nima Flubes, the Shadow Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports, made reference to cases where athletes suffered serious injuries and were forced to quit participating in athletic activities. She lamented that many of them did not have sufficient insurance to continue. Flubes posited that under the PPPC regime, the state of affairs in athletics has eroded.
Athletes would be selected to represent this country, and no proper plan is in place to get them ready for the competition for which they have to take part in. We have athletes having to go to work. So if you're tired all day and then you have to go train in the afternoon, you have all these issues coming up. So our plan will cover all of that to ensure that all our athletes are covered and protected as they represent this country.
Flubes, in responding to questions by Nightly News regarding the underdevelopment of community grounds in certain APNU-led communities, gave these remarks.
I always ask the question, why is it that we have GDF ground always well kept, Evelary ground well kept, border ground well kept? What is so different that the government cannot use the resources or the knowledge needed to ensure that all our communities' grounds are kept in that manner?
Antonio Day reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Stay tuned for your regional news.
Good evening and welcome to Friday's edition of the Regional News. Starting off with news in Jamaica. The government is looking to fast-track implementation of the Integrated Electronic Case Management System, a paperless electronic process as part of the ongoing modernization and digitization of Jamaica's justice system. Within the next year or two, I hope courts will operate electronically, reducing congestion and making justice more efficient. We are also working on a national ID system to streamline access to services and improve security, Justice Minister Delroy Truck said. He was speaking during a Justices of Peace sensitization session at the Iberia Star Hotel in Lilliput, St. James on Wednesday, June 18. Chuck said ongoing modernization of the justice system is playing a pivotal role in improving the efficiency of parish courts across the island. He noted that significant progress has been made in clearing case backlogs, pointing out that these have now virtually disappeared. The minister emphasized that these advancements form part of a broader effort to strengthen the judiciary and ensure that justice is not only accessible but also delivered in a timely manner. Now turning attention to news in Trinidad and Tobago. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Becesar promised to establish a committee to explore reopening the JAGUAR refinery. It's a commitment we made. We will consider and explore what we can do to reopen this refinery. Persad-Becesar said, we have agreed to establish a committee to develop a strategy to reactivate the JAGUAR refinery. Your representatives will be on that committee together with our experts, but we have to go in there and access what is there. Do I have your permission to set up this committee to explore the strategies for opening that refinery? Reopening, she asked the crowd. She said she would meet with Ansel Roget within 10 days to finalize the committee's formation and expected a report within 2 months. And I quote, "Remember, always good things come for those who wait. I give you the commitment that we reconsider and work with your representatives to make sure the best is fulfilling our workers' agenda," she added. And finally, with some sad news in Nicaragua. Former Nicaraguan military officer Roberto Sancam was killed on Thursday in Costa Rica, where he was living in exile, his wife and opposition party said. Sancam, a retired Sandinista major, was shot to death in his condo on the outskirts of the capital, San Jose, his wife Claudia Vargas told Reuters. Vargas later told local media that the attacker had presented himself as a delivery driver before shooting Sancam at least 8 times, then escaping on a motorcycle. Sancam was a vocal critic of the Nicaraguan government led by President Daniel Ortega, which human rights groups and the UN have accused of carrying out a violent crackdown on dissidents. The military officer fled Nicaragua after participating in anti-government protests in 2018, which were initially sparked by social security reforms, but quickly evolved into demanding widespread democratic change. The protest rights group alleged were met with deadly force by authorities and hundreds of people were believed to have been killed. Sancam had denounced Ortega's military as being involved in suppression. Thank you for watching. I'm Antonio Day.
JAGDEO now says opposition parties no match for the PPPC, claims only the PPPC has competency and skill. Norton fires back, says PPPC government dictatorial, willing to condone crimes, and urges JAGDEO to wake up from his slumber. AFC cites broken accord, failed negotiation that ended APNU coalition talks, and MOHAMED'S Win Party sparks controversy over use of Jaguar symbol. Those are our major headlines. For these stories and more, please go to our website. It's www.hgptv.com. I'm Travis Chase. Thanks for watching.